What's up, guys? I'm the Hooper Saiyan, and welcome to another episode of The Life of a Hooper Saiyan. Now, before we start today's podcast, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the social media pages. They're both at the Hooper Saiyan on Instagram and Twitter. I will be posting updates where there's something on the podcast goes wrong and I can't upload, or just anything. So make sure you follow those so you can keep up with what's going on. Now, as you can tell by today's topic, I'm going to be talking about 4 animes that need a reboot. And before we get into it, we have to discuss, well, what is a reboot? A reboot is whenever an anime that already has been created gets remade with the intentions of improving the show. Reboots are almost always considered better than the previous adaptations. An example of the almost would be Berserk in 2016. Now, Berserk was originally a 1997 anime and everybody loved it. Everybody went crazy over it and they wanted a reboot, and they got their reboot. But it was terrible. And it was terrible because of the animation. There's tons of poorly made CGI mixed in with 2D animation at the same time. It's like trying to put baking soda and vinegar in the same bowl. And if you don't know what happens there, baking soda and vinegar together blows up. But that's basically what happened with the animation in the 2016 Berserk. It was terrible. But you have some amazing adaptations and reboots of previous animes, like Full Metal Alchemist to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Brotherhood is now considered to be a top anime of all time and heavily considered as probably the best non-shonen of all time. The animation was improved, the storyline was improved, the characters were improved. They improved everything, and they truly made Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood look a lot better than an already great show in Full Metal Alchemist. Now you also got Hunter x Hunter, who originally had a 1999 anime adaptation from the manga, and later came out with another adaptation or a reboot in 2011. Now the 2011 version is heavily respected as a top anime of the 2010s, as literally everything improved, and they added a great arc in the Chimera Ant arc. Now before we get into what 4 animes need a reboot, we gotta talk about why you would have a reboot. So first of all, the ending could be bad, which is one of the cases for one of the animes today. It could also not start out the way it should have. You can add parts that were not in the previous anime, just like Hunter x Hunter did with the Chimera Ant arc. You could also remove bad parts that was in the previous anime, as Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood did. They removed some parts that people didn't necessarily like, and they changed up the character designs on some of their characters, and heavily improving the show. And also, you could just simply improve the animation. And with all of that being said, let's just get right into the first anime, and that being Katekyo Hitman Reborn, or just Hitman Reborn. Katekyo Hitman Reborn is a 2006 anime about Suna Sawada, who discovers that he is next in line to become a boss of the Vongola family, a powerful mafia organization. Vongola 9, the current head of the Vongola family, sends an infant hitman named Reborn to train Suna to become Vongola X, or Vongola 10, the next Vongola mafia boss. Hitman Reborn finished in 2010 with just about 200 episodes. So why does it need a reboot? What a lot of people who don't actually watch Hitman Reborn don't know is that it started out as a gag manga, but it was later adapted into a shonen manga. And whenever it was time to adapt Hitman Reborn into an anime, Artland Incorporated, the studio that produced Hitman Reborn, actually decided to adapt the gag manga into the anime, and that left about 15 episodes of just straight gag episodes. And a lot of people honestly didn't like that. A lot of my friends didn't like that, and they dropped Hitman Reborn. So, what would the reboot do? The reboot would need to shorten or even remove the gag art to draw more fans in. And also, with how good the animation technology is today, that can make the fight scenes even better, which would also draw more people in. Now, the second anime on today's list is actually going to be No Game No Life. Now, No Game No Life is originally a light novel written by Yu Kamiya about a brother and a sister named Sora and Shiro who seek to beat the god of games in a series of different types of games in order to take the god's throne. And why does that need a reboot? Simple answer, and if you're a fan of No Game No Life, you know what I'm going to say. And that is because Madhouse dropped it and never made a season 2. Another studio could easily pick up No Game No Life and not only make a season 2, but they could give it a reboot, and they could revive the fan base and make the show completely better. And everybody will be happy in this situation because Madhouse has dropped it since like 2013, 2014, and has dropped no updates. So if another studio like Studio Bones picks it up and they can heavily improve the quality, give it a season 2, give it a reboot, the fan base is going to love that. So now into the third anime, that being Rurouni Kenshin. Rurouni Kenshin is about a former assassin called the Hitokiri Batosai, or in English, the sword-drawing manslayer. Now, the Hitokiri Batosai, being the main character, he went completely off the grid to become something that is called a Himura Kenshin, or a wandering swordsman. And now he swears to protect the people of Japan and also swore to never take another life. So why does that need a reboot? Simply because it was made in 1996 and it has a ton of potential, especially with today's technology, and could heavily improve the animation. Now, am I saying that every old anime made before 2005 needs a reboot? No. I mean, think about Yu Yu Hakusho, think about Cowboy Bebop. Even Naruto, the original Kid Naruto, was made before 2005. All of those shows are perfect. I do not believe that those shows need reboots just because it is old. I think they did everything perfectly, and the animation is what makes it special. Now, as to why Rurouni Kenshin needs it, it just doesn't have that same special feel, in my opinion, as Cowboy Bebop, Yu Yu Hakusho, or Kid Naruto. And I think, although it is an amazing anime, I love Rurouni Kenshin. I would love it if they gave Rurouni Kenshin a reboot and improved the animation to make the fight scenes look a hell of a lot better. I think everybody of a Rurouni Kenshin fan would love that. Now, another reason why Rurouni Kenshin would need a reboot is because they left out a ton of arcs that were in the manga, a ton of big arcs that were in the manga, and they didn't put them in the anime, such as the Jinchu arc or the Hokkaido arc. They just completely left those out of the anime. Now, a lot of fans have actually been wanting Rurouni Kenshin to get rebooted just so they could put those 2 arcs in, but also to remove some of the filler. And I think that if Rurouni Kenshin would get a reboot, then a ton of the fan base will be happy, and I think that more people will start to respect Rurouni Kenshin as a great shonen and as a great anime. So now, let's get into the final anime. And earlier I said that a reason why you would need a reboot is if the ending was bad. And if you have seen Soul Eater, you're going to 100% agree with me on this. Now, this is a quick disclaimer, the ending of the original Soul Eater will be spoiled, but I don't think it matters because you will be left disappointed. Soul Eater is a 2008 anime about 3 different teams, Maka and Soul, Black Star's team, and Death the Kid's team, and each team consisting of a weapon meister and at least one humanoid weapon. These 3 teams that I just mentioned before each try to have their humanoid weapons eat 99 souls and 1 witch soul to become what they call a death scythe. So why does it need a reboot? If you've seen Soul Eater, you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. And that's the ending. The ending is terrible. I'm just gonna flat out say that the ending is one of the, if not the worst ending that I have ever seen, and is considered one of the worst endings in all of anime. And so why is it so bad? Well, that's simply because when the anime was being produced, the episodes of the Soul Eater show that was being released each week actually went ahead of the manga. So right at the end, instead of waiting for the manga to catch up, Studio Bones decided to make their own ending to the anime. Now, it's so easy to say that this decision was terrible. Yeah, it was an absolute disaster of an ending. The 3 main teams, Maka and Soul, everybody fought the final boss named Asura. And how it ended was Maka beating the overpowered Asura in 1 punch because she has courage. Let me remind you that the main characters couldn't even land a solid hit on Asura before Maka made a speech about how she was not afraid of Asura and became One Punch Man out of nowhere, while everyone around her woke up from being knocked out and was just like, yeah, Maka has courage. She can beat you. Maka has courage. I know that we've just been destroyed by you, But it doesn't matter because Maka has courage. So yeah, this ending was terrible. It ended in one punch, which did not need to happen, and left, I'm pretty sure, every single person who watched it was unsatisfied. Thus makes Soul Eater deserving of a reboot, for sure. Because the show before then was amazing. I loved Soul Eater. I was so hyped for that ending because the way they built it up and the things that happened prior, it was amazing. But then they messed up the ending and just left everybody disappointed. And now fans are begging for a reboot. And I left this last because not only was it the one that I think is most deserving of a reboot, I think it's the one that's going to actually get a reboot at some point. Now, it was in 2008, which is 12 years ago, but with how heavily the fans are just feeling like, we want a reboot, we want a reboot, we want a reboot, I would not be surprised if they started coming out with more episodes of Soul Eater in a complete reboot. Now, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Anime Podcast for this week. Like I said before, follow my social medias at the Hooper Saiyan on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're listening on whatever platform you're listening to this on, because the podcast is now on Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. The YouTube channel is the Hooper Saiyan if you're listening this on SoundCloud or Spotify, and if you want to listen it on a different platform, just type in The Life of a Hooper Saiyan in the search bar and you will find the podcast on there. So make sure you go listen and make sure you hit that subscribe button, because I will be coming out with actual videos very soon. It's in the works. I'm still trying to figure everything out, but I do want to start coming out with actual videos. So thank you guys for listening. Be sure to check out all the socials and stay cool as always.